privileged to have Paul Healy. He is the voice of Attleboro football, not just football, anything Attleboro High School. He's been doing it for 20 plus years, and I thought this year on the show that we would touch up. Well, we had the privilege 2 weeks ago to have John Paris from Bristol Plymouth. He came on and gave us his rundown on what his aspect was for his team, and now again, you have Paul Healy. Paul, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, but Dominic, one very would have been just fine.
One very, I know. On my own word, it's funny, Paul, I was just telling my intern, I said, you know what, Craig, don't worry about butchering the English language, that's my job. Just be yourself, and we want to make sure that all the listeners that listen online and here locally have a chance to enjoy you and watch Elmer Fudd do his best. So besides that defensive end, I know Craig's going to throw in a couple questions at you as he's playing off me here. What other injuries did they have in the preseason, like if at all, going into tonight's game, besides the defensive end?
The most important injury was to Nick Evans. As a sophomore, Nick Evans started at guard and linebacker, and he had a great sophomore season. This year, they had moved him to tight end. How often do you hear that, a kid moving from guard to tight end?
Maybe freshman football, maybe.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's when they're just trying to like figure out where their players can play, figure out where they're best at.
Yeah, exactly.
And Nick had a great preseason at tight end. Coach Strachan said the kid is a natural, but unfortunately he suffered a very bad wrist injury. He's going to be evaluated Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, and that's when we find out whether it's a 2 or 3 week injury or a season-ending injury.
Yes.
And because of Nick Evans not being available, that lends an opportunity, first of all, to junior Jeremy Haas. He had a 29-yard touchdown reception last night on the last play of the first half, and it was like a backyard schoolyard play. Cam Furtado rolled to the right. There was nothing there, so he reversed field, rolled back left, and now he's a good 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And all of a sudden, you look up, and there's Haas in the end zone, jumping up and down and waving his hands, just like we did in our backyard as kids, wide open. And Furtado threw the ball to him, and they scored the touchdown to end the half.
Awesome.
And when Haas needs a break, or when they go with 2 tight ends in their tank formation, the coach's son, freshman Mike Strachan, comes in at the other tight end. He had 2 big receptions last night and did not look out of place.
Oh, that's great. So are we looking good on depth on this team? And what are we hurting on depth?
Coach Mike Strachan before the year said that is the problem. Depth is a problem. They only have 62 kids in the whole program this year, and they cannot sustain many more injuries. Depth is an issue.
So we're not confident that the JVs could come up and strongly help out the team. Oh, you know better than anybody. The speed of the game changes from JV to varsity anyway.
Yes, it does. But Attleboro, Jason Weir, that's Captain James Weir's brother. He's a sophomore, and you'll love this combination. He's the backup quarterback and a starting defensive end.
Wow.
Quarterback, defensive end. You don't see that combination much.
A little different.
No, like I was talking, maybe at the youth level. Hey, Johnny, you can throw the ball. It's only a stinger.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's funny.
Yeah.
Now, I think if anything, and like you mentioned about how they can rebound from this loss, and I know I kind of played off the Dartmouth loss a little bit, like you mentioned, in the 2 Division I teams, and that's actually what led me to my playoff question, because Dartmouth is officially, and I don't mean to pick on the Dartmouths, but sometimes it falls that way. Officially, as far as I know, please correct me if I'm wrong, Dartmouth is in the Old Colony League with Barnstable, Dartmouth, and Bridgewater Raynham, and if I remember, that's supposed to be a Division I. So when I see them go in the playoffs, and they jump down and they play the East Bridgewaters of the world, or the Fiends of the world, that really, and no disrespect to any of these high schools, I just wish there was a better format. They always tell us we go by male enrollment. You go by male enrollment, then why is even Dartmouth considered in the OCL? And for years I've always talked about, why don't we create the Big 7, male enrollment? Let's be honest about this. When I was young and I played, and I was up in Brockton, you had the Suburban League. You remember that league? That's done. So why don't we bring back another, like I was thinking, and a reporter at the Brock Enterprise talked about it one time, this was years ago, possibly a Big Seven, Attleboro, I think they mentioned New Bedford, Durfee, Brockton, something with the big schools. But now when you have a team like Dartmouth, and again, they're in the OCL,
Yep.
you put them in Division Four, you know, and to me, if you have the numbers, you should be where you belong.
Yeah. First of all, you have the big, you mentioned Brockton, New Bedford, and Durfee.
Yes.
The big three. 3 teams in one league? No, thank you. The OCL, 3 teams in
Right.
one league. I'm sorry, you have to have a minimum of 6 teams, or you don't have a league.
Right.
Second of all, if schools want to have leagues, local rivalries, that's just fine. But when it comes to playoff seeding, I want to go by power ratings, period, exclusively. I don't care who wins a local league. I want to know what your power rating is. That takes into effect your strength of schedule
Yes.
and your won-loss record. And based on your strength of schedule, your won-loss record, how the opponents you've beaten and or lost to, how they've done against other opponents, use the rating system to seed the playoffs. And if schools want to have their own local leagues for local bragging rights, fine with me. But I don't like the idea of a team winning a 3-team league
Right.
and getting an automatic bid to the playoffs. Get away from me.
That's what and you see it in hockey, right? You
Yep.
see it in baseball. Again, not to pick on those guys, but the first team that comes to mind, they throw them down next year, they're playing with Middleborough. I love it when I see in the baseball aspect of high school sports is when you see a team like Middleborough, let's say up the number the Division 3, all of a sudden, you know what? Now they're playing 2A or 2B, right?
Yeah.
And they're competing. They earn that right. But don't bring a school down when you. I mean, 9 times out of 10, at least in my humble opinion, I believe that they're going to dominate. They're going to go automatically, in my opinion, make it to the semifinals,
Yeah.
one way or another. That's what you usually always see, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah, well, speaking of things that aren't right, how come high school ice hockey and high school baseball, the two most racially exclusive, most expensive sports to play, how come they get a Super 8 tournament and nobody else does?
That's it. Yeah, exactly. And now they. That's
yeah,
right.
but Craig, the young guy. Let's get a young perspective here.
Yes.
What do you think the answer is?
There you go.
Can you just repeat it for me?
No, he was talking about how they have the Elite Eight in hockey,
Yeah.
and now they have the new Elite Eight in baseball. What's your opinion on that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I kind of know what you mean. I just don't really know, like, if I have, like, a full opinion on it yet.
Okay.
That's fine.
Hey, there's an honest answer.
That is an honest answer. I told
Let me
him.
tell Craig, though, if you want a future as a talk show host,
Yeah.
you've got to have an opinion, whether you know the facts or not.
Yeah.
Because trust me, if I could write down how many times people straightened me out, and I humbly said, "Oh, you're right," and guess what? They were right. And you live and learn. But that's like Paul's saying, every in this show, and everyone has an opinion,
Yeah.
and that's how the world goes round, basically, right or wrong. But being fans of high school sports, before I'm going to ask the young guy in a second, but what would you like to see changed rule-wise in high school football?
In high school football, is this for me or is this for Paul?
This is for both of you.
Okay, because
Right.
I agreed with what Paul said. With the I think that the 3 teams per league is not even fair. They should expand on that because if you're gonna be the best team in a 3-team league, it's basically like saying you're the principal of a homeschool. You can say it's a title, but I don't really think it's that much to be proud of.
That's true.
And then the other thing we were talking about, what was you saying? They brought down the team that was Division 1 to play a Division 4 team?
That's how they've done it with different teams.
And that's at like the end of the year, right?
Yeah, when they try to make the brackets. they
See,
throw
now
in the
that's
brackets.
the thing I have with that is like a lot of times like in college football, you'll see like a really good team play like a not so good team like very beginning of the season. And that's kind of like, warm up the players, warm up the starters, get the second and third stringers, some work in because they're not going to play that much throughout the season. So why are you doing that at the end of the season when really you should be challenging yourself more to make that playoff push?
Exactly. And I hate that, and I gotta get tissues here for you, Paul, every time I mention that. I get all choked up, and I'm saying, I don't think it's right, it's wrong.
Yeah.
If you get a number and you're going by mail, I talked to Dan Bjorn last year, and he said,
Wait a minute.
Oh,
You can't
boy.
just say Dan Bjoron. It's got to be Dan Bjoron. Oh, with the angels singing.
Oh, that's funny.
Love Dan.
Yeah, so I asked, how Dan's, all serious and, ready to go. And like you said, great guy. His opinion is, Don, why don't they go by, how many kids sign up for my football program? I said, well, it's kind of not fair too, because you could have Bishop Conley in Division One. Then you never know who's going to sign up for your football program or your baseball program. You know, and I know I'm beating this in the ground, and I really appreciate your opinion.
Well, just to take Dan's point of view, in that case, set up your divisions the way they set up like the Premier League in soccer. What division you're in next year is based on your record this year.
Right.
And like your top 2 or 3 teams, maybe 3 or 4 in Division 2, they move up to Division 1 the next year. And the bottom 3 or 4 teams in Division 1 drop down to Division 2.
Right.
And that's so basically your division is set not on the size of your school, but on how your football team has done against competition over the previous years. And the cream will rise, and the lesser teams will drop down, play other lesser teams, and if they get better, they get a chance to move up. That's kind of a radical thought.
Yeah, it is.
I'd like to see that, but it will never happen. One thing that I would like to see happen that could happen in high school football, 5 timeouts in one half. Are you kidding me?
That's right.
5 timeouts in one half.
2 fulls and 2 30s, 3 30s.
Yeah, it's insanity.
It really is.
Insanity.
Yeah, I'm
But
sorry.
high school football is it's the level of football I enjoy the most. I have trouble with Division I college football because everyone gets paid except the talent. It's the only forum on planet Earth where everyone gets paid except the talent.
Yeah.
And then pro football, life's too short. 3.5 hours to play a pro football game. What's going on?
Right.
High school football, you have kids playing offense and defense. There's less specialization. It's my favorite brand of football.
There you go. Can we hold on to you for a little bit longer?
Yes, you may.
Absolutely. We're going to take our last break. You are listening to Ford Deep Sports Talk here on the news station, 1320 AM WARA, and online, all one word, FordDeepSportsTalk.com. We are talking to Paul Healy. He is the voice of Attleboro High School football here on 1320 AM. He will be right back with more right after this. Hey, welcome back. You are listening to Ford Deep Sports Talk here on the news station, 1320 AM WARA, and online, all one word, FordDeepSportsTalk.com. We are streaming it live, video-wise, you name it, podcast, and whatever you want to call it. We're doing it here in Attleboro on 1320 AM WARA. Craig Salvador. I'm Dominic Damiano. I'll get my own name right. Paul Healy. We have Paul on the line. He is the voice of Attleboro football. Paul, I didn't lose you, did I?
No, you did not. And does Craig have a penalty flag in his back pocket? He needs to throw a penalty flag against me.
Oh, he does?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, we've been talking for more than 20 minutes, and I have failed to mention 2 of Attleboro's captains, Dan Perry on the line of scrimmage and Nathan Barboza, who plays fullback and linebacker, to go this far into the conversation without mentioning those 2 fine athletes and fine young men. That's a 15-yard personal foul.
That's a big time personal foul. Hey,
I
so
think you still get the first down though.
There you go. Hey, real fast, what did they get better at this year in your eyes as a fan, not just a broadcaster?
What did Attleboro get better at?
Yes, sir.
The biggest improvement is Cam Picardo's passing. He was always he was a quarterback who threw like a running back his first 2 years. And I don't know what he did in the off season, but he threw much tighter spirals. He had a much better idea of where he wanted to go with the ball. And as a sophomore and junior, he scrambled because he wanted to.
Good.
Last night, he scrambled when he had to, and that's a huge difference. That's a big improvement.
And that comes down to a maturity factor, too. I know we talk about when we used to coach our kids in Little League and other youth sports, and they don't want to hear that big word, but that's what it comes down to is maturity. You have to understand the situation.
Yeah.
And, of course, his father and the OC over there has to tell him, and now the coaches probably tell him, this is the deal. If no one's open in his real estate, run.
Right.
If you can make a move and you can't start the play, run, tuck it and go. So he's definitely come around, you would say, yes?
Oh, absolutely. And the best example is the last play of the first half. This year was a 29-yard touchdown pass to the junior tight end, Jeremy Haas. Last year, that would have been a scramble. It would have been a run. Would have gained 15, 20 yards, but he wouldn't have made the end zone. 6 points off the scoreboard. So that's the big difference. I don't know what Tony Chodas, the offensive coordinator, did to get through to him, but he did.
That's probably more like repetition and camp and stuff like that. How about the junior players? How did the junior players look in your eyes? Did they step it up? They had to in the game, but could you see improvement in these junior players coming up that are starters right now?
Well, Justin Cody, number 28, he's a 5'7", 165-pounder. He had over 100 total yards on offense. We didn't have an exact count on tackles on defense, but he had to be involved in at least 10 to 12 tackles. Desmond Woodson, he's a super sub. He backs up in the offensive backfield. He can play defensive back. He saw time at linebacker last night, and he made a really nice recovery on an onside kick. And then their safety, Josh Varian. He's an outstanding, and he's this good as a junior. Safety for a Division I program, that's a big deal. Today's Boston Globe, they have an article about high school football, and it's all about how safety play in high school football has changed so much with the evolution of these zone read and spread offenses. You got to know when to stay back and defend the deep ball, and you got to know when to come up and take that fullback on and hit him right in the teeth. And Josh Therian was very good as a junior. He had an interception last night with a 55-yard return that set up the aforementioned touchdown pass to the other junior, Jeremy Haas. So, and then Alex Rodriguez, number 2, he's a running back and linebacker. Jacob Weatherford, he's another kid who's a sub this year. He'll be a main cog next year.
Yeah, Paul, I just had a quick question about, you were talking about the quarterback before and how he's been getting more comfortable with his passing game.
Machado, yeah.
Yeah, is he doing more of a short passing game? Is he liking to throw downfield, find his receivers? Like, what's he been doing to really improve with that?
Getting the tight end involved, also swing passes to the backside of the backfield. But last year, when they wanted to throw deep, he had to throw high arcing passes and have Elvin Sam or the other wide receivers out-jump the other team's defensive backs. So really, the long balls last year were kind of a 50-50 coin flip. I couldn't believe watching him in warm-ups last night and during the game last night. His long ball this year, he's trying to throw the ball directly to a spot. And Elvin Sam a couple of times caught the ball in stride.
It's like really been improving his arm strength pretty much.
Absolutely. And accuracy. Yeah.
All right,
and then also another junior I missed is Eddie Perica. They list him at 6'1", 300 pounds. He's taller than 6'1", and he weighs more than 300. But Coach Strachan said, come on, we have to have a limit on the program.
All right, so to get back at my other question, and again, you've been doing this a lot longer than a lot of other people here in the youth level. What would you like to see if we abolish the OCL and abolish the Big Three and reformat the Hockomock? What would you like to see as a new division? Well, hypothetically, we'll call it the Big Seven.
Ooh, wow.
What would you like to see?
Can I take it one step beyond that, Dominic?
Please.
I think the Catholic schools, the parochial schools, should have their own division. It's like, Everett High School is the only team at the Division I level who can compete with Xaverian, BC, St. John's Prep. So I would, New York State, the parochial schools that can, let's be honest, recruit, should be in a different division than public schools where you get the kids from your town and that's it. In terms of the Big Seven, boy, I'd start off by combining, the OCL and the Big Three. But, back in my day when I was a kid, your leagues were the towns around you. You didn't have to drive 30 miles to play a league game. So I guess I'm less concerned with the Big Seven kind of concept as I am with keep your leagues local and keep your playoff seeding based on power ratings.
That's a good point, because I know Dan also mentioned how he has to go hypothetically 55 miles. I know he's probably a little off a little bit when he has to go play Barnstable and Dartmouth,
Yeah.
out of his conference. And
Well, it feels like 55 miles on the bus ride home if they lose.
yeah, right, exactly. He was, I think he was caught up in a moment when I was talking to him, Paul, and he was just saying, I got to travel to visit my, to my kids, my team, our school. We have to travel to play our conference games, and they're a good, they're away. They're far away. It ain't like them going up the street to play Brockton.
Right.
They're right, they're away. You hop on Route 3 or hop on Route 24, and away we go.
Gosh.
But I was just
Can
curious.
I go old school on you for a second?
Please.
I graduated high school in '76. I played at Westboro, and then I started broadcasting in 1985. In 1988, Brockton High School was ranked #1 in the country. I was at the game when USA Today had just ranked Brockton High #1 in the country, which is unheard of.
Yes.
In a country with states like, Texas and Florida. And then the very next week, they went up to Leominster and lost a tough game to a Leominster team with two great running backs, Wallace and Matthews. And a bunch of calls went against Brockton that day. So ever since 1988, I've had a soft spot in my heart for Brockton. Because everyone says Brockton's the big mean team and all that, but Brockton finally reached the pinnacle. And I'll tell you, the next time Brockton gets a close call in their favor will be the first time Brockton ever got a close call in their favor.
That's true. I was at that game. I graduated in '84, and I was at that before I joined the service.
Yeah.
And I remember Dick Butkus' son played for the California team, and his son made a spectacle on TV saying, "We knocked out Brockton, we're #1 in the nation."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a little Massachusetts team. You're a big California state. And I'm saying to myself, you're proud that well, whatever. But like you said, it was that game. Leominster had it all going for him, and Brockton had the calls. It was just funny seeing that all go down and like kind of put Brockton a little bit on the map,
Yep.
But now let's get back to Blue Bombardier football.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We only got about maybe 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Their next opponent. Let's get people's mouth watering. What do you think they need to do to get that first W?
Against Dartmouth?
Yes.
Put 13 kids in the field for defense. The last 2 years against Dartmouth, it's been the same story. Attleboro plays them tooth and nail for the first 2.5 quarters, and then Dartmouth's power running attack. A couple of times with Chris Martin, I can't remember the running back from last year. Dartmouth has just worn Attleboro down between the tackles. So if they can sneak a couple extra kids on the field, one extra on the defensive line, one extra linebacker, they'll be just fine.
Now, do you?
Seriously, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to pull Justin Theory and their safety up, basically add him as an extra linebacker, and hope that their cornerbacks, Furtado and Cody, can play the wide receivers one-on-one. That's the only chance they have. Bring the safety up, try to stop the running game. If Dartmouth beats you deep with long balls, so be it.
What do you think they have to do on offense to be able to stay in the game?
Run and pass mix. They've got to keep it balanced. They've got to keep it balanced. If they can't run in passing situations, Dartmouth will blitz and they'll be all over Cam Furtado. It's got to be a balanced offense. They have to establish the run first, which is a very difficult thing against Dartmouth. Dartmouth, it's 2017, but they play football the way it was played in the 50s and 60s. They are old school, tough between the tackles. Go ahead, try to knock us off. We don't think you can do it.
Well, I want to thank you, sir. We finally got you on the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the last couple of weeks, Dom. I kept having emergencies come up at the last minute on Saturdays. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I thought I owed you money or something, and you were kind of ducking me or something. I wasn't sure what I did wrong.
No. But,
Hey, let's talk about your show during the week. I want to get that out there real fast for the listeners listening to this show.
well, that's Pontificating with Paul and the Proletariat. It's not a sports show. It's basically a radio show and kind of a parody of typical AM radio shows. We try to get very, very passionate about issues. Instead of Republican versus Democrat, we get passionate about issues like microwave oven versus the toaster oven, which way the toilet paper goes on the roll. We're just trying to get the last 3 hours of the morning, getting along in a good mood, so then we can go to lunch, come back, and mail it in like any decent American employee.
There you go. Paul, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you, Dominic. Craig, good luck.
Thank you.
Hustle's more important than talent. Remember that.